Thank you for joining us once again. Just Talk, the number one podcast on all social media platforms. Tonight we'll be having a one-on-one discussion with Mr. Edwards. It's not your typical discussion. We'll be asking different categories of questions tonight. So, like, share, subscribe, find us on all social media at Just Talk 876, Just Talk _876, and all social media platforms. Subscribe, support. So tonight, Mr. Edwards, we'll be having some discussion on various topics. Not very controversial, not very edgy, but just light-headed conversation, sir. You ready?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, host. You know what I mean? It's been a while since I've been back on the channel, and I'm glad to be here. So let's begin.
Okay, sir. Dating and relationship will be your first topic of discussion for tonight. So after asking certain questions, if you guys wish to comment on what he said, if you think he might tell the truth, if I think a lie might tell, because you know, black man not cheating about black man lie. So the choice is here. You can make your comments based on his response, and we can discuss it to see if we agree with what he'll be saying tonight. So the first question that I want to ask Mr. Edwards, is dating harder for a young man today than it was for previous generations?
To the truth was, may I have two answers to that question there now. And the first answer, to keep it short, is yes, it is harder.
Why would you say that?
Because nowadays, most young men nowadays lock around in them house, lock up and then go out again like one time. Times gone by in a house is that we had young men out the road because back then they never have technology and phone for sitting around 24 hours a day.
So you say technology is a contributing factor that's causing an issue like that?
Yes, sir. I'm very much convinced that's the case.
Well, do you agree with the fact that technology is the cause of our now dating issue? If you do agree, you can drop your comment in the comment section and we can have a further discussion on that. Next question. Would you date someone with opposite political views, or is that a deal breaker? Especially since we're in Jamaica. Say for example, you're a JLP and the person that you're interested in is a PNP. Would you find that a conflict of interest, or would you go ahead and date that person still?
Well, personally, it was I never vote, you know. I never vote, but personally, yeah, if I like the person enough, I will still date that person.
So what if your girl say, oh, you have to go cheer for my party, you know? I'm not interested in your party. You have to go cheer for my party, you have to go not two-pot cover. Will you give away with your party and go ahead and join her party? Even if you don't vote, but you wanted to come on her side and support, would you switch sides?
Well, host, in that case right there, right? I thought I said there's two sides to the table, right? So because if me I do a fish, you know, she must can step out and put on
the
my
same thing for you.
Me as well.
Very good, very good. Should man still be accepted to pay for dates in 2025, or should it be half and half? If you take out a young miss, would you allow her to pay for your meal or the meal that you guys had together, or should you solely fit the bill in 2025?
Well, personally speaking, if I me call her out, then no. But if she call me out, then that's a different story. I'll talk about.
No, man, but some woman will say you're cheap, man. Some woman not agree with you. Ladies, do you agree with this gentleman? Whether whosoever brought who out, should the gentleman pay? Should the bill split? Or should you pay as a female? Because he said if you invite him out, him not pay, you know? And that the brother say, you know? Well, so do you agree with his comment?
Well, host, like how you try to calm me as if me just outright say she have pain, but personally, 90% of them, when I me call her out, or even if she call me out, I may go pay her, but if she put in interest that she want to pay part of the bill, me say sure, Me pay 80%, you pay 20%.
Well, I don't agree with his answer. When I take up my wife, I ensure that I pay the bill. I ensure that I pay the bill. I don't know where to go in our purse. I ensure that I pay the bill no matter what the cost is.
But all right, that's where you go. That's where you want to know. It's a first date.
It's first date.
It's a first date.
So on the first date,
If it's
remember, first impression lasts. So on the first date,
Yeah.
you're going to let the young lady pay. You will not get a second date. We're moving on to the next question.
You're right.
Because if you're going to let the young lady pay on a first date, you're not going to get a second date.
You're right.
You lose her right there, man.
You're right.
You lose her right there, man.
I agree with
Next question that I'm jumping on to. Does social media ruin relationship, or does it just expose existing problems?
I would say both, but it also builds relationships stronger.
In what way? What way does it build relationship?
Because let's put an example as goes, right? John and his wife are influencers on the internet, right? And then all John followers them company parents say, yo, me see your wife going in the building the other Monday, right? John said, but wait, no other Monday, right? And that's the way how him can show that, because remember John account that, because that's how put John in a position where he must say, alright now, since you don't really want to expose her, maybe I can feel about it. That's an income right there, so for John.
Yeah.
And then
But it's a negative for the partner.
No.
Because John now is ruining the relationship.
No. We're not finished. When John bring her on stage and bring her on camera, like we already know, right? John actor say, so who's this young man? 2 and 2, nobody realize that.
Right now, me believe say John I try mash up the people in their life. So right now, me don't even want to follow up John and his story. So John, keep your story to yourself and don't be a private investigator.
Yeah.
Leave the people them relationship and business alone.
But
Next question, we're jumping on to. Is traditional masculinity toxic, or is society just demonizing male traits?
I'm not sure I understand that question, host.
Is a masculinity and identity question. So is tradition masculine, feminine versus masculine? So is society demonizing the male traits?
Personally, yeah. Because society nowadays, it moved to a point where they think the woman is always right. I personally agree with that 100%. But in certain situations, you can't look past it. And that's all I can say.
But some women that are independent ladies nowadays, there's like, they want to say them wear the pants in the house too. If I them pay the bills.
Well,
What would you say about that?
well,
That would like she's playing a male role in the household. Do you agree with that?
in other people's household, let them do what they want to do. But in my household, I am the man, me wear the pants, me pay the bills.
Okay, sir. Do you agree with him? Okay. Do you think young men today are becoming too soft, or they just more emotionally intelligent? Because before you answer, because remember in nowadays society, you can't be too emotional, and you have to be careful who you show your emotions to, because you might relate your emotion to somebody and then turn around upon you and say, yo, hold up your stress.
You're right.
So, do you think young men today are becoming too soft, or are they more emotionally intelligent?
Personally, I just think the men from today is changing from the men from before.
The generation is changing.
The generation is changing. Because men from before had to go out and war, But nowadays, that not going, the world is more peaceful in front of
Well,
the
in
cities.
some regions, not necessarily, not all regions people have to go out and war.
Yeah.
So in some regions, okay, should man be allowed to cry openly? Continuing on the question of showing emotion. So should man be allowed to cry openly, or does it make them appear weak? What's your take on that? Would you cry openly in front of your partner, or would it let you appear weak?
Depending on type of settings.
What do you mean by the type of settings?
In a funeral settings are very emotional setting for the male partner, then yes, the man should be allowed to cry because...
So what if you're going through certain stress at work, and you want a shoulder to cry on, because men are human too.
Yeah.
So suppose you're going through certain stress at work, and you want to relate your problem to your partner, do you think it's okay to openly cry to her? Or will you seem weak to her?
Personally, I think that's the reason why she's around you, because if she herself can't help to keep you emotionally strong, how is she being a good partner?
Okay. Ladies, will you consider your husband or your dating partner to seem weak if they openly cry on your shoulder? Just like when you going through your emotional trauma and you want a shoulder to cry on. Is it okay for your partner to cry on your shoulder? You can leave your answer in the comment section below. Do you think men face discrimination in today's society, or do they still hold all the power?
Men are nowadays facing more discrimination than before, because back then a man, he discriminate a man, he would have thumped them fast and quick, but nowadays they want to put that aside and it a show. So I definitely think they're being discriminated against more.
Okay, sir. So we're moving on to career and your future, right? So when it comes on to career and future, is college still worth it? Is college still worth it in 2025, or are young people better off skipping higher education? Or do you think they should continue to pursue a higher level of education?
Personally, there's two sides to that coin. They can pursue a higher education, but it's the way they go about doing it. If they think they have to leave their jobs to go on to the higher education, then that's wrong. I'd recommend that they both work their 9 to 5 that they can, if they can, and then put in the extra hours when they can to study and pursue that education, because let me tell you, they don't know where that education can take them. So I definitely think that college right now nowadays is a mistake. But if you can both juggle work and school hand by hand, then
they
should be alright. Yeah, it should be alright.
So do you think in 2025 college is worth it? If you think college is worth it or it's not worth it, you can leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Should young man prioritize money or passion? No, sorry. Should young man prioritize money over passion when choosing a career?
Well, money over passion, that's where it gets in there now. Because this job is paying more, but you hate every single second of work, you're going to quit, you're going to leave it behind. I mean, I tell you, the boss now go hold back and say me a little bit because he now put in the work I want him put in. And the same thing with passion. If you go in with passion and it becomes a daily thing, you're going to do the exact same thing. So I'll just say, in the situation, if your gut feeling it's right, you go for it, and then you pursue both. So at first, you go for your passion. If your passion don't work out, then you just go for the money and you just build your passion on top of that.
Okay, sir. Will you take a high-paying job with a company you morally disagree with? Relating back to your passion, or is money more important?
If my more disagreement came from just a one-sided point of view, then yes, I'll take the job with them to see their side and what they're going through. But if it's a company where I've been there before, I walk through their aisles and I walk through their shoes and seeing what they do and how they do it, then no, I would never work for that company.
Okay, we are living in Jamaica, right? But is the American dream still achievable, or is it a dead concept? The American dream, living your luxury life in Jamaica, in today's society, is that still achievable, or is it dead? For someone to say they want to live the American dream.
Would you believe it, host, if I tell you right now is that people nowadays in Jamaica are living the American dream here in their home country right now?
So what do you think they did to achieve living the American dream?
Put in the hard work. Unlike someone who get up every morning and say, I want to live the American dream, those men went out there and put in the work. And
do you aspire to live that American dream?
Yes, and I'm putting in the work for it.
You're putting in the work?
Putting in the work for it.
Okay. Do you want to live the American dream? Are you putting in the work to live that American dream? Now we are moving on to a bit controversial question. If you had to choose, would you rather lose your freedom of speech or would your right to bear arms?
And by bear arms, you mean future children and such, right?
No, as in actual bear arms.
What?
Let me answer the question again, sir. If you had a choice, would you rather lose your freedom of speech or your right to bear arms?
Right there, so I'd rather lose the right to bear arms, personally.
You keep your freedom of speech.
Keep freedom of speech because,
Basically, your freedom of speech is everything.
yeah,
Your freedom of speech is everything. Without your freedom of speech, you don't have a voice.
no,
So that is what changes things. Your freedom of speech.
yeah. Because with my freedom of speech, I can put back in my freedom to my bear arms.
Okay, sir.
But with
So,
bear arms, there's nothing I can do.
with the next controversial question, would you rather be loved but poor or be rich and lonely? Before you answer that, would you rather be loved and poor or rich and lonely?
Alright, yeah, this up. Make this straight up. Poor and loved.
Poor and loved. Why would you want to be poor and loved?
Because when I look at it, I can't look at myself not having this amount of money when I can look upon and can't actually use it to get on and get like in my life pleasures. That doesn't make sense. I'd rather build beside my partner and then build upon a rock there. If we drop back a man and we build again.
But this is not a partner question. But for me, personally, rich and lonely. Rich and lonely because I'm an introvert. I like to stay by myself. So a rich and lonely me say. Him poor and lonely. Rich and lonely me say. So that is my choice. Okay. Would you support a one world government if it meant global peace? One world government. So you have one government making all the choices, all the decisions, if it meant global peace.
Right there, so? No. Look upon North Korea. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Nothing more. North Korea. We don't even touch that topic there. So, next controversial question. If you found out that your partner that you're dating now, dating for many years, had a secret, and the secret is that your partner had or have a high body count, would you change how you see that partner? You have your partner, you know. You and your partner are going through everything, you know, for years, you know. And then now she have this deep, dark secret that she revealed to you. You and your partner lay on the bed and she turns to you and says, honey, you know that you have always been there for me and I have this thing that I've been living with that I want to tell you. I wanted to tell you a long time, but I think now is the right time. I should start telling you about that high body count. Would you stick with your partner or would you look at them differently?
Alright, in the moment, I look on her differently, but all that memories of me and her being together, I tell her as I straight up, as much as though I never recreated before, you never tell me this earlier, me still not left in the same way now. Me still not left.
But you will stick to her with her high body count?
With her high body count, same way.
Me not stick with you. Keep it a secret. If you have a high body count, keep it a secret. Viewers, would you stick with your partner if you found out that they had a high body count that they have been keeping a secret for so many years? That was my final question. Mr. Edwards, it's been a pleasure, sir.
It's been a pleasure.
See you again.
See you again.
One just talk,
One just
never
talk.
two.